In this edition of your Enduro GP Highlight Show, can Freeman run away with the lead in the Enduro GP standings? Find out how riders prepare to race in the scorching Mediterranean sun. With 2 wins this weekend, David Knight can become the Open Senior World Champion. Welcome to the 4th event of the 2019 Maxxis FIM Enduro GP World Championship in the bustling city of Saras, Greece. From the hilltops above, one sees the modern-day city spreading out on the plains below and the rugged terrain that surrounds it, where the world's best Enduro GP riders will test their skills over the course of 2 days of racing in incredibly hot and demanding conditions at the Greek Grand Prix.
We expect hot weather. Currently we have 37 degrees Celsius with high levels of humidity. And this will cause fatigue to the drivers, dehydration, and hopefully not very serious injuries. The drivers will suffer.
I consider the extremely hot weather conditions harder for me because where I live, the maximum sometimes is 25 degrees, and in the colder conditions you feel a little more, it's easier to put more clothes on than less, so I prefer the colder conditions. For these conditions with circuit we have the AirTech shirt, obviously camelback, and just each lap, just when you come back into the pit you have to obviously make sure you're trying to keep cool, keep out of the sun, because obviously it's such a long day, it just really drains it out of you.
Best way to get fresh after a hot race.
Like in any race, you have to be really careful on the transfer as well as the test. Obviously, you can really damage the bike. You can break something, so you have to be careful in any condition. The weather, it doesn't matter. You just have to be careful.
We recommend to the drivers to drink plenty of fluids, vitamins, juices, stay in the shadow, and eat light meals for energy. The worst symptom is he could lose consciousness and he can fall and injury hard. But that seldom happens. Mostly they know what they do, and they are mostly experienced drivers and they know what to do.
Taking place on Friday evening and opening the competition, the Super Test powered by Akrapovic is the only test of the weekend where the riders aren't overly affected by the heat. While the weather isn't too hot, the action certainly is. There are 6 lead changes between the Enduro GP riders, with Brad Freeman taking the win, just 49/100ths of a second ahead of Matteo Cavallo. Andrea Verona dominates the juniors, as does David Knight in the open category. At the end of the evening, Thomas Aldradi holds on to the lead in the overall Akrapovic Super Test award standings. It's Saturday morning before the start in Saras, and the ambiance is already sweltering and sweaty. The bikes have been repaired and fine-tuned during the 5-week break since the Spanish GP. The riders in the 3 categories of the Enduro GP Masterclass are rested and ready to get back on the track in the dry, rocky, tree-covered hills of northern Greece. Designed and prepared by the experienced and well-respected Lambs Motorcycle Club, the demanding course is set for the first day of competition. The relatively short but intense 40-kilometer track winds its way up and over scenic hills and through green groves of bushes and trees. The Enduro GP riders have to conquer the Maxxis cross test 4 times, but the Champion Enduro test and the Technomus Extreme test only 3 times in each stage. They go all out for 1 hour of timed competition per day, battling each other and temperatures in excess of 40 degrees. Leading the E2 category in the last lap, Christophe Charlier goes down hard in the Enduro test. When he picks himself back up, the 5th-ranked Enduro GP rider hears a horrible noise coming from his engine. His Honda makes it through the Extreme test, but conks out before the final cross test, leaving the Frenchman with a DNF for day 1. One step off the podium in the overall standings, Alex Salvini is fired up and fighting for a top 3 finish with Matteo Cavallo before a major crash in the second Enduro test dislocates his shoulder. The Italian Honda rider starts the weekend with a DNF and a trip to the hospital. Against a heavy field of internationals, the lone Greek rider Vasilios Siafarikas can only manage a 19th place finish. The month off after the Spanish Grand Prix was what 2018 Enduro 2 champion Eero Remes needed to recover from injury and get better acquainted with his new Yamaha. He finishes 10th on day 1 in Greece. After 3rd and 2nd place in Spain, Dan McCanney is obviously disappointed to finish 9th in the first stage in Greece. His consolation prize is 2nd place in E3 behind Holcomb. Chile's Benjamin Herrera edges out McCanney by 1.15 seconds for his best finish of the season. The Team Beta factory rider takes 8th overall and a surprising 3rd place in E2. Italy's Davide Guarneri takes 7th overall, his highest placing for the 4th time this season, managing 3 top 3 finishes in the special tests, including a win in the final cross test. Losing control of his bike in the last Enduro test, Loic Larieux narrowly misses colliding with 2 trees. The TM rider picks himself up after the crash and goes on to win the last Extreme test, place 2nd in the last cross test, and finish a respectable 6th place overall. Giacomo Redondi can't replicate his podium performance from day 2 in Spain, but manages 5th overall. Taking advantage of Salvini and Charlier's misadventures, the Italian outrides Larieux to win E2, making up valuable points on the 3 class leaders. Current world number 10, Thomas Oldrati rides smooth and steady to claim 4th place. It's the Honda Red Moto World Enduro rider's best result of the season, just 2.85 seconds from a spot on the Enduro GP podium. A win in the first Enduro test gives the 2018 Junior World Champion Matteo Cavallo the motivation he needs to hold off fellow Italian Oldrati, finishing on the Enduro GP podium for the first time in his career. The Sherco rider's 3rd place finish moves him to 5th in the overall standings.
Didn't expect to do that result right now. At the end, I reached the podium, and it's a nice goal, and I'm happy. I'm really happy, and I hope the same for tomorrow.
Steve Holcomb has recovered from the debilitating virus that severely affected his performance during the Iberian events. The newly re-signed Team Beta factory rider starts strong with 3rd, 2nd, and 1st in the first 3 tests and a 12-second lead at the end of the first lap. However, he can't keep up the pace, finishing the day 2nd overall and 1st in E3.
Fortunately, given the situation, I'm pretty happy and proud of myself to be, this fast still. This sort of a month ago, I was unsure even if I'd be here racing. It's frustrating because, I know where I should be, but, the good part is to be strong enough mentally to understand that and ride within my capability.
After a relatively slow start with difficulties in the first Enduro test, Brad Freeman wins 5 tests in a row to overtake his British rival. In the end, the Beta Boana rider cruises to victory with an impressive 38.45 second advantage over the reigning world champion. It's Freeman's 4th consecutive win, putting him 8 points up on Holcomb in the Enduro GP standings.
The conditions changed so much throughout the day, and I just think I was maybe a little bit too cautious this morning. I didn't really know what to expect, and starting first, I think was a little bit hard this morning. But over the moon to get the win again in Enduro GP, and feels good.
Italy's Matteo Cavallo is the first surprise of the weekend, taking 3rd place in Enduro GP, followed by a rejuvenated Steve Holcomb in 2nd, and Brad Freeman continuing his role in 1st. There are 3 categories in the Champion Lubricants Enduro Open World Cup: Senior, 4-stroke, and 2-stroke. 26-year-old beta rider Matthias van Hoof juggles between Belgian Championship and Open World Cup events. The Open 4-stroke competitor considers it a great way to hone his skills for the future.
I wanted to do something out of Belgium, and then a couple of weeks later they came with a World Cup Open class, and for me it's great because the GP class level is too high. And the World Cup Open class is a good step up to get maybe in GP in some years, or just to get more experience, and like this. And now the outside lane is going under the bridge, and then we say we need to take the far right, but we get 2 options. We go by van and or by boat in Ancona, but it was too expensive, so we chose the all-way route on the highway, and we drove more than 2,300 kilometers to go here, to Went here. We crossed 8 countries and more than 2 days in the van, but it was okay.
Leading comfortably after posting the fastest times in the first 5 of 7 tests in the open category, Matthias looks sure to take the win. Unfortunately, mechanical problems force him to abandon the race after the final Enduro test on day 1.
Such a pity. The front pipe did damage to the tube of the cooling, and all the water was gone, and the engine was cooking and boiling. So I will quit today. But we fixed the problem. Everything is now almost ready, and then we will take off tomorrow again. I will try to win in Open 4-stroke. Okay. New day tomorrow. I'm competing in World Cup Open class. It's like privateer class, but it's still Enduro, and in Enduro you can't do alone. You always need people. You need a mechanic. You need somebody to help you at a special test and maybe put in the good way or the good line. And my mother's also here. She's always getting the food ready and drinks and make another camelback and those stuff. So I got 3 people here.
So at this point you're not leaning too much to the outside, not enough.
I have to sit down also.
Yeah, it's some hesitation going on, so...
Matthias is very focused on eating healthy and staying in shape to be able to ride his best at every event. The Belgian bounces back from his DNF with a sweep of the special tests and a dominant first-place finish on Sunday.
I think I won, and then just behind 19 overall, so good day. Good day, mate.
The dream is still to get 1 year of riding all the GPs and don't have to work and just focus on riding, focus on racing. That's still the main goal or the dream I have, and that's what I will always will have and will work for. That's why we do it.
Locals Panayotis Zafirou and Konstantinos Nikias trade off 2nd and 3rd place in the 2 stages. The single best performance by a Greek rider is a win on day 1 from Ioannis Chassapis. His win on day 2 adds another 20 points to Maxxis' season total, enough to solidify his 3rd place in the standings behind class leaders Elwood and Flockhart. In open two-stroke, George Pisamanis rides valiantly for Greece but has to settle for 2nd both days on home soil. Gonçalo Reis takes every test of the 2 stages. The Portuguese gas rider only needs 1 more win to wrap up the 2019 Open World Cup two-stroke title. In Open Senior, Patrick Anderson rides his Yamaha to 3rd place on Sunday and moves to 2nd in the class standings. In only his 2nd Grand Prix of the year, Austria's Hans-Peter Mussel finishes 3rd on day 1 but slips back to 4th on day 2. Another talented Austrian, Werner Müller, takes 2nd in the class Saturday and Sunday on his KTM. With the 8 best results counting for the final standings in the Champion Lubricants Enduro Open World Cup, David Knight completes his sweep of the category with 2 wins in Greece to become the inaugural Open Senior Class champion.
Still too hot. 20. Well done.
The legendary Knighter wins his 4th FIM World title, and like his first one, he claims it in Ceres.
I've had a lot of fun, you know. It's no stress, it's no, you know, I don't have to work every day doing this, training like an animal to be, you know, that you have to be the best in the world, like Freeman and Holcomb and them guys now. So it does mean a lot after all these years. 14 years since my first world title, 100 meters apart, you know, so pretty special.
Sunday and the late spring sun is still beating down on Ceres, dehydrating the riders but bringing out throngs of local Enduro GP fans to watch the 2nd day of action at the Maxxis Grand Prix of Greece. Sunday doesn't start well for Giacomo Redondi. The Italian goes down hard in the first Enduro test, injuring his ribs and losing time. The Husqvarna rider finishes in 18th place. After a 3-hour procedure under general anesthetic to put his shoulder back in its socket the night before, Alex Salvini amazingly sits astride his Honda at the start on Sunday morning. The Italian manages a respectable 12th place finish.
Today it was hard. It was really heavy day. I started in the morning with a lot of pain. It's been a really tough weekend. This 5th place, it's more than a victory for me.
Benjamin Herrera finishes 10th on day 2. Combined with his 8th place from the day before, the Chilean Beta rider leaves Greece with 14 points, his best Grand Prix performance of the season. With 2 first and 2 second place times, Davide Guarneri is the top rider in Sunday's cross tests. However, lackluster performances in the Enduro and Extreme tests lead to a disappointing 9th place finish for the stage. Finnish Yamaha rider Eero Remes goes 2 spots better in the Enduro GP classification for the stage with an 8th place finish and 3rd place in E2 on Sunday. However, he still sits 1 spot outside the top 10 in Enduro GP and the top 5 in his class. Steve Holcomb's health has improved, but he has yet to return to his dominant early season form. A 4th, 3rd, and 2nd in the first 3 tests of the day is the best he can do. The Team Beta factory rider has to settle for 7th place on Sunday in Ceres. 2 second places and a 1st in the last 3 cross tests are enough for Loïc Larieux to finish 2.51 seconds in front of Holcomb. The French TM factory Enduro rider takes 6th overall and 2nd in E2. In spite of 2 errors, another Frenchman, Christophe Charlier, finishes 5.19 seconds in front of Larieux to finish 5th in Enduro GP for the 3rd time this season, his best result. To top it off, the Honda rider also takes the win in E2 for the first time. Fully recovered from his injury sustained during the break between the Spanish and Greek events, and more confident than Saturday, Dan McCanny takes advantage of Charlier's 2 mishaps to finish 4th overall. The TM rider also wins E3 in front of his fellow Brit Holcomb for the first time this season. Riding high on adrenaline from his first ever Enduro GP podium on Saturday, Matteo Cavallo keeps his momentum rolling to finish 3rd once again, 9.91 seconds ahead of McCanny on Sunday. The Italian Sherco rider also moves up 2 spots to 4th place in the overall standings. Thomas Oldrati wins the last Enduro test and caps off his best weekend of the season with 2nd place finishes in Enduro GP and E1, 13.61 seconds faster than his compatriot Cavallo. As a result, the Red Moto World Enduro rider jumps from 10th to 5th in the Enduro GP Championship.
Very, very happy for this result. Yesterday finished 4th in the Enduro GP for 5-6 seconds Cavallo. But today I ride very, very, very well, and yeah, thanks for my team, my mechanic, Diego, Matteo, for the great job, everything race. See you in GP in Italia. Ciao.
Brad Freeman can't ask for a better start on Sunday with the fastest time in the first 3 tests. The leader of the 2019 Enduro GP rankings still looks to be the man to beat after the 2nd lap, but nearly ruins his day with a heavy slam in the 2nd-to-last cross test. The sturdy Brit still manages to hang on for the win in Enduro GP and E1.
We started the day good. After the 2 laps we had the lead, but just had a crash on the last lap, so just struggling a bit, so just happy it's finished. Glad it's finished, glad I got the win, and hopefully we can be ready for next weekend.
Brad Freeman takes 1st place for his 5th round in a row, with the 2 rising Italian talents, Thomas Oldrati and Matteo Cavallo, rounding out the 100% E1 podium on day 2. The Enduro GP general standings are still an all-British affair. Freeman extends his lead to 19 points over Holcomb in 2nd, who sits another 20 points in front of McCanny in 3rd. In the junior class, the heat took a toll on Britain's Jack Edmondson. Coming off 2 third-place finishes in Santiago de Compostela, the Sherco rider could do no better than 7th on Saturday and Sunday in Ceres. Fellow Sherco rider Théophile Espinas also had a frustrating weekend in Greece. The Frenchman can only manage 5th place on both days, but holds on to 3rd place in the junior standings. The big surprise of the weekend is Roni Kittonen. Riding on Husqvarna for his namesake Kittonen Motorsport, the Finn finishes 3rd on day 1 and takes his 1st ever class win on day 2, moving into the top 5 in the standings.
I'm really happy, and also my career first win in the World Championship, so just an unbelievable feeling.
Consistent riding is enough for Spain's Enric Francisco to finish Saturday in 2nd place. On Sunday, the competition is stiffer, and the KTM rider wins 3 tests and takes 2nd in 3 others, finishing just 5.89 seconds behind Kittonen. Class favorite Andrea Verona cruises to victory on his TM with wins in all but the first test of day 1, finishing 47.5 seconds in front of Francisco. Day 2 is a different story. The Italian could do no better than the third fastest time in the second Enduro test and third place overall. On the junior podium, Kittonen celebrates his first win while Verona finishes off the top spot for the first time this season. With plenty of excitement on the course and in the different title races, the fourth event of the 2019 Maxxis FIM Enduro GP World Championship was a fantastic return to Greece for riders and fans alike. The season has passed the halfway mark and starts its run to the finish line. Next up, the strong Italian contingent is impatient to be on course with home field advantage at the iconic Enduro Grand Prix in Rovetta, Italy.